The forgotten code of creation. Look around you, not with your eyes, but with your soul. Doesn't something feel off? As if you've been speaking a language that was never really yours. As if the world around you is echoing back thoughts you never consciously chose. There's a reason for that. And it's older than time, older than history. It begins not with the mind, but with the word. You've been told that speech is just sound, mere breath pushed through the throat. But the ancients knew better. They knew that every word is a spell, every sentence a seed, and every voice a vessel of creation. And they revered one figure above all, the keeper of this secret, the scribe of the gods, the architect of the unseen, Thoth. But Thoth was not just a deity carved into stone. He was, and still is, a consciousness, a timeless intelligence that doesn't reside in temples or scrolls, but in the spaces between your thoughts, in the silence before you speak. The ancient Egyptians believed he recorded the architecture of reality itself, not with stone, but with sound, with intention, with presence. And here's the part they never told you. That same architecture lives inside you. Maybe you've felt it, that inner hum beneath the noise of daily life, a quiet knowing, a pulse that doesn't come from your heartbeat, but from something deeper. The world has trained you to ignore it, to laugh it off, to speak mindlessly, to forget the power your voice carries. But what if the forgetting was never your fault? What if it was part of a greater design, a veil meant to be lifted only when you were ready? If you found your way here, it's not by accident. You were called. Not by me, not by this video, but by something ancient in you. Something that remembers what your mind forgot. Something that knows your voice was never meant for noise. It was meant for creation. This isn't a video, it's a doorway. And what you are about to discover isn't information, it's remembrance. Because deep within you is a spark of that same divine intelligence that whispered universes into being. And through Thoth's forgotten wisdom, through vibration, silence, symbol, and speech, you will remember the language of the soul. The real question isn't, can I manifest? The real question is, will I remember how? The tongue of the Creator, how Thoth spoke the cosmos. Close your eyes, not just in imagination, but in presence. Let silence take the lead for a moment. Imagine the universe before time existed. No stars, no sky, no gods, only silence. But this silence was not empty. It pulsed with potential. It was full, a fertile nothingness waiting to be stirred by intention. And then a sound. Not a sound that broke silence, but one that emerged from it. A vibration, not spoken by a mouth, but breathed from pure consciousness. This was the first word. And the one who gave it shape was Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the architect of vibration, the tongue through which thought became form. To call Thoth a god is to limit him. He was not born nor created, he simply is. The ancient Egyptians saw him as the divine principle of intelligence, the cosmic translator who gave thought its language. When the Creator wished to give form to the unformed, it was Thoth who carried out the command. He did not shout or conquer, he spoke, not from ego, but from alignment, from silence, from the exact center where all creation begins. And so, through him, the Word became the blueprint of the world. The Egyptians did not believe the universe was built from matter. They believed it was built from sound, sacred sound. vibration. Intention carried on breath. The cosmos was not constructed. It was spoken into being. And if that truth makes your chest stir, it's because your soul remembers. Deep within you, under the noise of daily language, you too carry this code. Because if Thoth is the principle that turns thought into speech and speech into reality, then so are you. Every word you speak is a thread, and with it, you are weaving your world. Not metaphorically, energetically, spiritually, practically. Every I can't, every I'm not enough, every nothing ever works for me. These aren't observations, they're instructions, orders, commands sent out into the field of reality. And reality, obedient and neutral, listens. You've been taught that speech is just communication. But Thoth's wisdom reveals the deeper truth. Speech is creation. Each word is a seed. And your body, your mind, your emotional state, they are the soil. Whatever you speak plants something. Whatever you repeat waters it. Over time, it grows. A thought becomes a belief becomes a pattern becomes a life. And suddenly, you're living in a garden full of things you never meant to grow, but you spoke them into existence all the same. Thoth didn't write with pen and ink. He wrote on the subtle fabric of the universe. His writing was vibrational, energetic, alive. And this is what the priests of Egypt understood. The word is sacred, so sacred, in fact, that before any initiate was allowed to speak the divine words, they had to prepare. Through fasting, through silence, through observation of every thought. Because to speak carelessly is to create blindly. And blind creation is chaos. Now pause, breathe, ask yourself, how many times have you created chaos with your own voice? How many times have you said something that wasn't aligned with your truth and then watched it become real? You didn't mean to, but you forgot. You forgot that your voice is a wand, that every sentence is a spell. That Thoth lives not just in temples of stone, but in the vibration of your own throat. The ancient scrolls say Thoth recorded every word ever spoken, not on papyrus, but into the memory of reality itself. Every phrase you speak is etched into the vibrational field around you. Your life, in many ways, is a living document, and your words are the ink. Even the words you whisper to yourself in the dark, especially those. The internal monologue is the most powerful magic of all because it never stops casting. The stories you tell yourself again and again shape the rhythm of your life. So the question is no longer whether words have power. The question is whether you're aware of the power you're already using. Are you creating by design or by default? Are you shaping the field or repeating the scripts handed to you by fear, memory, or the world? This is where the work begins. This is where Thoth's mirror is held up to you. Because speech isn't just an echo of thought, it's a bridge between dimensions, a passageway from the invisible to the visible. When you speak from alignment, when your thought, your feeling, your intention, and your vibration all match, your words become law. But when you speak from chaos, from fear, from habit, from noise, your words become static, confusion. And the universe doesn't respond to static. It responds to coherence. This is why Thoth demanded purity from those who wished to create, not moral purity, but vibrational purity, alignment, presence. He knew that a single word spoken in truth could alter destiny, and that careless words could collapse timelines. The ancients feared misused words. They didn't throw sacred names into conversation. They didn't chant casually, because they knew to speak is to command energy. To name something is to give it form. And once spoken, form takes on momentum. But here's the miracle. The same force that creates can also recreate. Just as you have spoken patterns into place, you can speak new ones into being. You can begin again, right now, with your next breath. The voice you once used unconsciously can become your most sacred tool, your prayer, your wand, your covenant with the unseen. You are not powerless. You are powerful beyond belief. And your greatest creative weapon isn't a spell book or ritual, it's your own speech. But only when that speech comes from truth. Let's remember this. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was not spoken by gods in the sky, but by consciousness itself. And that consciousness is inside you. You are the mouthpiece of creation. The question is not whether you can manifest, you already are. The question is, what are you manifesting with every sentence you speak? Now, let us bring this lesson into practice. Practical exercise. The 7-day speech awareness ritual. For the next 7 days, become the guardian of your own voice. Speak nothing unconsciously. At the end of each day, journal the following. What did I say today that reinforced an old pattern? What empowering truth could I have spoken? Instead, what 3 phrases will I carry tomorrow to begin rewriting my field? Optional enhancement. Choose one empowering phrase, e.g., I am aligned with my voice and my truth, and speak it aloud every morning. Not from the throat, but from the chest, the belly, the soul. Feel the vibration. Let it ripple. You are not casting spells with symbols. You are casting them with breath, with will, with presence. Speak carefully, for the universe is always listening. Vibration is law. The invisible frequencies of your voice, there is a law, ancient, unbending, invisible to the eye, yet felt in the bones. It is not written in books, though all sacred texts echo it. It is not enforced by rulers, yet it governs. Every atom, the ancients called it the law of vibration, and whether you are aware of it or not, it is shaping your life with perfect precision. Every thought you hold, every word you speak, every emotion you feed, they do not vanish into silence. They ripple, they radiate, they create. You may believe you are speaking casually, expressing an opinion, venting frustration, or stating a fact, but in truth you are programming your field. Each phrase is a signal sent outward, not metaphorically but vibrationally. And the universe, in its infinite sensitivity, is always listening. Not to the words you say with your mouth, but to the frequency you emit behind them. This is why Thoth, the scribe of the gods, was more than a writer. He was a frequency tuner, one who aligned speech with cosmic harmony. He didn't just record reality. He encoded it. He knew that every sound carries weight, every sentence sends a wave, and every repeated phrase builds a pattern that becomes experience. You've felt it, haven't you? The heavy weight of certain words. The way a simple statement like, "I'm tired of this," feels like dragging chains behind you. Or the way, "I'll never figure it out," lands in your chest like a locked door. These aren't just emotion. They are broadcasts, and you are the tower, the sender, the architect of what returns. The Hermetic principle of vibration, passed through the mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, and Persia, states clearly, nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. That includes you, that includes your voice, that includes your most casual phrase, spoken in traffic, in passing, in complaint. Because vibration doesn't care about intention, it responds to alignment. Let me say that again. The field doesn't respond to your words, it responds to the frequency they carry. You can affirm 100 times, "I trust the universe." But if the dominant vibration within you is fear, lack, or doubt, it is that which the universe responds to. Vibration is honest. It cannot lie. You may mask your face, you may craft clever sentences, but your field is naked. It hums what you believe, it pulses what you feel, it echoes what you embody. And your voice, dear soul, is the purest reflection of that current. Thoth understood this. That's why his students were taught not just sacred speech, but sacred silence, because they had to listen first to their own resonance before daring to shape reality with their voice. You cannot speak light if you're vibrating confusion. You cannot speak healing if you're vibrating bitterness. The sound may be the same, but the frequency is the truth. So here's the revelation. Your life right now is not a mistake. It is a mirror. It is a song that echoes the frequencies you've been emitting, day after day, thought after thought, word after word. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the composer of your current. And if you wish to change the reflection, you must change the vibration. Not forcefully, not desperately, but consciously. The shift begins not with external effort, but with internal resonance. Start to listen, to really listen, not to what you're saying, but to what your words feel like as you say them. Some words expand you, some words tighten your chest, some phrases you repeat not because they're true, but because they're familiar. Because they match the old vibration you've worn like a second skin. But you are not bound to your past frequencies. You can tune them, you can rewrite them, because just as you have spoken yourself into suffering, you can speak yourself into liberation. I am not enough can become, I am becoming. This never works out for me can become, life is rearranging itself for my growth. The words are different, yes, but more importantly, the vibration is. One constricts, the other expands. You see, speech is not about affirmation. It is about transmission. You're not trying to convince the universe. You're trying to align with it, because the universe doesn't speak English or Sanskrit or Arabic. It speaks frequency. And frequency is precise. So the work now is not to speak more. It is to speak with awareness, to pause before you open your mouth and feel, what vibration am I about to send? Is this complaint a cry for help or a habit I haven't outgrown? Is this criticism truth or a reflection of my own unresolved tension? Is this sentence building the life I want or reinforcing the one I wish to leave behind? These are not easy questions, but they are liberating ones, because they remind you that you are not powerless. You are a tuning fork, a transmitter, a spellcaster, and your daily speech is the magic or the mess you send into the weave of reality. Thoth knew this. That's why his words were few. But when they came, they built empires, they healed kings, they opened the gates between worlds. And the same potential rests in your breath, if only you remember how to use it. Practical exercise. The frequency audit tonight, and for the next 3 nights, perform the following ritual at the end of your day. It will reveal the hidden vibration you've been living in and offer a chance to shift it. Sit in stillness, eyes closed, breathe deeply, let the body settle, recall the day. Don't rush, just observe. On a page, write down 5 phrases you spoke today, out loud or in your thoughts. For each one, ask, what vibration did this carry? Was it fear, trust, anger, compassion, scarcity, expansion? Then rewrite each phrase in a higher frequency, not a lie, a higher truth, one that feels just one step lighter. Speak the new phrases aloud, feel them in your chest, your throat, your body. You are not doing this to sound spiritual. You are doing this to retune your instrument, because your voice is not just sound, it is structure. And with every aligned word you speak, you are rebuilding the architecture of your future. Speak now, not from habit. Speak from frequency, from awareness, from truth, because the law is simple. What you vibrate, you become, and your voice is the proof. Silence before the storm. Why manifestation begins in stillness? There is a kind of silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of everything. A silence that doesn't wait to be broken, but to be entered. You've felt it before, though you may not have noticed it. In the breath before a revelation, in the pause before you said something true, in the stillness that wraps around grief, or the quiet that hovers over beauty so vast your voice cannot carry it. That is not ordinary silence. That is sacred silence, and that is where creation begins. Before Thoth ever wrote a symbol, before he ever spoke a single sacred syllable, he listened. He listened not with ears, but with soul. He waited, not for instructions, but for alignment. In the ancient temples of Egypt, silence wasn't a void to be filled. It was a ritual chamber where truth was born. And today, in the noise of your digital, distracted life, that sacred space still exists, but only if you remember how to find it. Modern life worships the loud. We glorify expression. We are constantly urged to speak up, share more, fill the void. We measure intelligence by how fast someone replies and wisdom by how confidently they assert. But the ancients knew better. They knew that to speak powerfully, one must first listen deeply. That creation doesn't come from talking. It comes from tuning, and tuning cannot happen in noise. Every time you speak without grounding, every time you react without breath, every time you rush to fill a space that was asking you to pause, you scatter your power, because the field around you is sensitive. It records not just your actions, but the frequency behind them. And when your actions rise from chaos, from restlessness, from the unfiltered impulse to speak or be seen, your vibration becomes incoherent. Your magic fades. Thoth understood this. That is why silence was the first requirement of the initiate. The disciple was not given spells or scriptures, they were given quiet. Long hours of sitting, watching the movement of their mind, observing how easily the body reacts, how quickly the tongue begins to speak from discomfort. Because only when you've sat in your own chaos without fleeing from it, can you begin to access your inner stillness. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of alignment. It is the internal harmony between breath, body, and being. And it is from this harmony that manifestation becomes precise, not accidental, not erratic, not wishful, but deliberate, clear, magnetic. This is why your current manifestations may feel like static, because the channel is cluttered. You're speaking desires from a noisy room, expecting the universe to hear your clarity. But creation doesn't respond to noise, it responds to resonance. And resonance only rises from silence. Let me ask you, when was the last time you were truly silent? Not just quiet, not scrolling with the volume down, not multitasking in peace, but silent, still, awake, present. Silence is not a passive state. It is an active return. It is the recalibration of your field. And when you enter that state, something incredible happens. The mind stops leading, and the soul begins to whisper. At first, you might hear discomfort, the racing thoughts, the to-do lists, the doubts, The replays of conversations, fears, plans, that's normal. That is the surface storm. The mind, unaccustomed to stillness, will thrash like a child denied a toy. But if you stay, if you breathe, the waters begin to calm. The thoughts begin to space out. The sensations change. You drop into a deeper rhythm, the one beneath the noise, the one that has always been waiting. That rhythm is the pulse of the universe, the breath of the divine. And it is there, in that sacred quiet, that the true word begins to form. Thoth's wisdom was not given to those who shouted the loudest, but to those who had mastered the art of hearing what could not be heard. Because there is a language that rises only in stillness, a voice that carries no sound but strikes like thunder in the soul. That voice is your intuition, your remembering, the place where divine command takes shape. And unless you retreat into that inner sanctuary, you will never hear it clearly. The silence before the word is what gives the word its force. Just like the bow pulled back before it releases the arrow. Just like the wave that builds in quiet before it crashes in power. Creation demands stillness, not just before speaking, deity, but before intending, before desiring, before acting. You must ask yourself, am I reacting from habit or am I creating from silence? Most of your world is built on noise. And yet what you long for, peace, clarity, power, these are not noisy states. They arise when you align with your center. And that alignment begins in stillness. Thoth's scribes were trained to fast from speech, not just with their mouths, but with their minds. Days of no speaking, minimal movement, avoiding eye contact, reducing gestures. Why? Because every external motion disrupts internal coherence. And when coherence is broken, the word becomes weak. In silence, you come face to face with the real you, the one beneath performance. The one that doesn't need to be liked, doesn't need to be right, doesn't need to defend or explain. That is your original self. And it is from that self that true manifestation begins. You do not need to shout your desires into the cosmos. You only need to align your energy so clearly, so calmly, that the field cannot help but respond. So sit, breathe, turn inward, wait, not with impatience, but with reverence. Something sacred rises when you let the storm pass. Before the word, there must be silence. Before creation, there must be emptiness. Before you shape the world, you must return to yourself. Practical exercise. The living silence ritual. For the next 3 days, set aside 1 hour per day for living silence. This is not ordinary silence. It is active, spiritual recalibration. Here's how. Choose a quiet space. Turn off all devices. No phone. No speaking. No distractions. Sit in stillness. You may close your eyes or gaze softly at a fixed point. Breathe deeply. With each inhale, imagine gathering your scattered energy. With each exhale, feel yourself dropping into stillness. Do nothing. Don't meditate. Don't visualize. Just be. Observe. Listen to the silence behind your thoughts. Optional. Light a candle or place a symbol of intention in front of you, not as a focus, but as a sacred anchor. Afterward, journal your experience. What arose in the silence? What feelings or insights came forth that you never hear in daily noise? Repeat for 3 consecutive days. The more you return to stillness, the clearer your speech becomes. The more precise your intentions, the more powerful your manifestations. Because manifestation doesn't begin when you speak your desire. It begins the moment you remember your power, in silence. The mirror of speech, how words reflect and reinforce reality. What if the world around you isn't happening to you, but happening through you? Not as punishment, not as coincidence, but as a mirror, polished by your speech, shaped by your thoughts, aligned with your most repeated truths. You were never dropped into this world randomly. You were woven into it, frequency to frequency, belief to environment, emotion to circumstance. And now it reflects you, not always what you want, but what you carry. This is the principle the ancient Hermetic masters called as within, so without. A law of correspondence that links the micro to the macro, the internal to the external. The principle that declares the world is not outside of you, but emerging from you, from the invisible patterns within your psyche and your field, from the echoes of the words you speak, especially when you're not paying attention. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Think back over your week. Not the events, but your own words. The sentences you said without thinking, the ones you whispered under your breath, the ones you repeated in your mind like prayers of doubt. This always happens to me. I'll never change. People just don't get me. These weren't statements. They were codes, broadcasts, commands sent into the unseen fabric of your field. And that field, like a perfect servant, obeyed. You've been taught to speak casually, to talk about your life as if you're reporting the weather. But in truth, your words are more like spells. They don't describe the world. They construct it. And the more you repeat them, the deeper they cut into the reality around you, forming paths that you begin to walk again and again. This is why people feel stuck, not because they lack opportunity, but because they are hypnotized by the mirror of their own voice. They speak limitations into form, they harden beliefs into walls, and then they wonder why things never change. But Thoth, the divine scribe, understood. He recorded not only what was spoken aloud, but also what was spoken within. Your inner dialogue is not private, it vibrates, and vibration, by its very nature, must express itself into form. So what do you say when you're alone? What do you mutter when you fail? What do you whisper to yourself in quiet disappointment? These are the architects of your reflection. Your external world will faithfully mirror the tone of your internal monologue. It may not happen instantly. Reality is not a vending machine, but it listens, it aligns, it arranges, and eventually, when you see it, in your relationships, in your finances, in your health, in the faces that trigger you, in the patterns that repeat. This is not to blame, this is to liberate. Because if you built it, you can rebuild it. If you hardened it, you can soften it. If you spoke it into form, you can speak it into transformation. But to change your words, you must first see them. To see them, you must slow down. You must become the observer of your own language. And here lies the secret. The mirror doesn't only reflect what is conscious. It reflects what is repeated. You may believe you're affirming abundance, but if you also constantly say, "I can't afford that," which one is speaking louder? The one backed by repetition, by emotion, by vibration. That's why the Hermetic laws never separate thought from word or word from world. They are one movement, from within to without. The reflection around you is a mirror of coherence, not correctness. You don't manifest what's right. You manifest what you resonate. Let's go deeper. Imagine a mirror on your wall. You look into it, you frown. The mirror frowns back. Would you scream at the reflection? Demand it smile before you do? No, you know better. you change your face, and the mirror follows. But with life, you forget this. You say, "Let my world change first, albeit then I'll believe something new." But the mirror waits. It will not move first because it can't. So the shift begins with your speech. Well, not because the words are magical in themselves, but because they signal a shift in identity. When you change what you say, you change what you believe. When you change what you believe, you shift what you expect. When you shift what you expect, the world cannot help but bend. That's the real alchemy. Not turning lead into gold, but turning habitual thought into sacred intention. Turning casual complaint into conscious creation. It doesn't require force. It requires awareness, a gentle but relentless return to clarity. You are already powerful. The mirror has never lied. It has simply shown you what you've whispered day after day into the ears of your own reality, and now you speak. Anew, begin softly. You don't have to become someone else overnight. You don't have to chant mantras from mountaintops. You only have to catch the next phrase and choose again. Instead of "I'm always stuck," say "I am learning how to move forward." Instead of "no one supports me," say "I am discovering who truly sees me." Instead of "I never get what I want," say "I am aligning with what is meant for me." Feel the difference. The words are simple, but their tone, their vibration, carries your future. You are not reciting affirmations, you are giving the mirror new data to reflect. And once you begin, reality will adjust. Not out of obedience, but out of resonance, because it always does. Practical exercise. The Mirror Journal. Ritual. This is a 5-day reflective writing practice to uncover and alchemize your unconscious affirmations, the hidden scripts that shape your life. Each night, do the following. Find stillness. Light a candle or sit in dim light. Breathe deeply for a few minutes. Write down 5 phrases you said or thought about yourself that day. Don't filter. Let them flow, especially the negative or habitual ones. For each phrase, ask yourself, what belief is behind this? Where did it come from? Does it reflect who I want to be? Rewrite each phrase in a way that aligns with your becoming. Not a fake statement, a higher truth. Something that feels 1 degree lighter. Speak the new phrases aloud. Slowly. Feel them. Let your body hear your new voice. Example. Old, I never have time for myself. New, I am learning to make sacred space for myself each day. Do this for 5 days. Watch what begins to shift, not just outside you, but within. You'll begin to hear yourself differently, and so will the universe, because every time you rewrite your speech, you reshape your mirror, and eventually, whilst you recognize your reflection again. Writing as ritual. The forgotten magic of sacred symbols. There was a time, long before bookshelves, word processors, or the clatter of keyboards, when writing was not a task, it was a ritual. Not a tool for keeping records, but a gateway to realms. The ancients did not write to remember, they wrote to invoke. And in the center of this forgotten art stood one eternal figure, Thoth, the sacred scribe, the master of hidden glyphs, the one who wove spirit into symbol. To understand what writing once was, you must let go of what it has become. Today, you jot notes, type lists, scribble thoughts, disconnected fragments born of haste and function. But the Egyptians, they wrote with intention. Each symbol carved into stone, inked onto papyrus, was a living entity, a bridge between the divine and the manifest. Every stroke had purpose, every curve carried power. It was believed that when you wrote the name of a god, you weren't just referencing the deity, you were calling its essence into the space. This is why Thoth was feared and revered. He didn't merely record events, he encoded reality. He was not the memory of the gods. He was their voice made form. His hieroglyphs didn't just describe the world, they shaped it. He gave structure to the unspoken, gave order to the ineffable, gave body to vibration, and you, though you may not remember it, carry that same gift. You've inherited a diluted version of this magic. Your words may be modern, your alphabet far removed from sacred glyphs, but your intention, your frequency, your presence, these are the same forces the ancients worked with. When you write with awareness, you are not merely documenting. You are casting, anchoring, seeding. Every sentence becomes a spell. Every journal becomes an altar. Every pen becomes a wand. But how often do you write with reverence? How often do you treat your notebook like a temple? When was the last time you sat in silence, held a pen, and allowed the universe to speak through your fingers? The answer for most is rarely. Not because the desire isn't there, but because the memory of this practice has been buried, hidden beneath speed, screens, and survival. You were taught that writing is mundane, but it is not. It is ritual. And it is time to remember. Thoth scribes trained for years, not just in symbols, but in energy. They learned which hieroglyphs could summon, which ones could protect, which combinations could alter the rhythm of a person's life. They didn't write lightly. They fasted before important inscriptions. They meditated before carving sacred names. They understood that ink could channel spirit. That paper, when blessed, could become portal. You might not be writing on papyrus, but the essence remains. Because the truth is, paper is only a surface. The true scroll is your energetic field, and every time you write with presence, you impress new instructions into that field. You don't just say what you want, you declare it into being. Let's go deeper. You sit down with a pen, you write, "I'm tired." The moment the words leave your hand, the field listens. It receives your message, it accepts your vibration. You write, "I'll never figure this out." The energy settles, the path closes, the mirror reflects your declaration. But then you pause, you breathe, you shift, and you write, "I am learning to trust the unknown." And something opens. This is the difference between careless writing and ritual writing. One reacts, the other creates, one loops you in the past, the other aligns you with possibility. Thoth knew that thought alone was not enough. Thought is air, subtle, fleeting, but writing is earth. It roots the unseen into the seen. It seals the intention into time. Once written, an idea begins to move. It gathers weight. It attracts. It vibrates. This is why spells were always written down, why sacred scrolls were buried with the dead, not to inform, but to guide. They were vibrational maps, encoded doorways, silent chants inked in form. So here you are now, a modern mystic, a soul with ancient hands, a being who speaks and writes, but has forgotten the sacredness of both, but no longer. Because from this moment on, your writing becomes ritual. You do not need special ink. You do not need hieroglyphs or hidden scripts. You need only presence. intention, reverence. When you pick up your pen, you are not escaping the world, you are shaping it. When you open your notebook, you are not processing thoughts, you are summoning truths. When you write with clarity, you send ripples into the unseen, and the unseen responds. This is not wishful thinking. This is vibrational law. You've already seen it work in reverse. Think of the times you journaled from pain, and the pain echoed louder. Think of the moments you wrote in despair, and your reality seemed to follow. The field is neutral. It does not judge your words, it mirrors them. So what will you write now, knowing that your hand is a wand? Practical exercise. The sacred writing. Practice. For the next 7 days, create a ritual around your writing. This is not casual journaling. This is intentional inscription. How to begin? Choose your space. Clean. Quiet. No distractions. This is your writing temple. Light a candle or burn incense to signal to your field. This is sacred. Before writing, close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe. Ask inwardly, what truth wants to be written today? Write slowly. No need for perfection. No overthinking. Let the words come from your center, not your mind. Begin each entry with a vibration. For example, today I choose to speak light. Let this writing align me with clarity. These words are offerings to my becoming. Write until you feel a shift, not in thought, but in frequency. You'll know. The body tells you, do not reread, do not edit. Simply close your journal, give thanks, and carry that vibration into your day. This is how Thoth wrote. Not for memory, but for magic. And now, so will you. The energetic blueprint. How speech programs the field. There is a force around you, ancient, unseen, and always listening. It is not human, but it responds to humanity. It does not speak in words, but it understands language. You live within it, speak through it, shape it, often without realizing. The Egyptians called it the ka. The Hermetists called it the field. Science now names it the morphic or quantum field. But its truth lies beyond titles. It is the energetic blueprint, and with every word you speak, you leave an imprint upon it. You were never just talking. You were always programming. Every phrase you speak, aloud or inside your mind, carries more than a sound. It carries direction, intention, and vibration. And these vibrations don't vanish into the air. They ripple, they code, they organize. Energy around you like invisible scaffolding, shaping your next thought, your next encounter, your next hour. What you say again and again becomes what you live. The ancients knew this. They did not speak lightly, especially not in the presence of temples, rituals, or sacred images. They understood the word is not casual, the word is causal. It doesn't describe reality, it gives it form. Thoth, the architect of divine speech, taught that every utterance enters the matrix of energy and arranges it according to its vibration. And today, your field is filled with echoes of everything you've ever declared. Consider for a moment the words you've repeated lately, to others, and most of all, to yourself. I'm tired. I never get it right. This is just how things are. These aren't just feelings, they're commands. Sent out to the field, repeated with frequency, and confirmed by experience. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because it is responding perfectly and precisely to your dominant emission. The field is not personal. it is mechanical. It mirrors what you input. It doesn't weigh right or wrong, only resonance. And so if you want to change the output, you don't plead with the world, you shift the input. You reprogram the blueprint through speech that aligns with what your soul truly seeks. You may wonder, how can mere words carry such power? But speech is not made of air. It is made of frequency. And frequency is the fundamental structure of the universe. Sound created the world, not silence. In the Egyptian temples, they believed that gods came forth not with thunder, but with speech, intentional, sacred utterances that birthed matter from vibration. You are not different. Your words still carry that ancient technology, but you've used it unconsciously until now. Here is the truth. If you speak from doubt, your field tunes itself to block. If you speak from fear, your timeline begins to spiral inward. If you speak limitation, the mirror reflects less and less light. But when you begin to speak from clarity, or when your words come from the core of presence rather than the fog of habit, the field rearranges. It listens, it responds, and it opens. Think of your field as fertile soil, and every word is a seed. Most people plant unconsciously, repeating the same statements out of boredom, frustration, or programming. But the soil doesn't care why you planted the seed, it simply grows it. So when you say, "I can't change," again and again, you grow more experiences to confirm that statement. But when you say, "I am ready for something new," something shifts. The field tilts, the energy realigns. You don't need perfect words. You need conscious ones. The field is sensitive to frequency, not grammar. It doesn't care if your sentence is poetic. It cares whether your words are coherent with your being. And coherence is born from presence. Take a moment, reflect. What have you been speaking into your reality lately? Do your phrases empower or entrap you? Are you rehearsing suffering or declaring your becoming? You might say, "But I'm just being honest." Yes, but which truth are you reinforcing? There are many truths within you. Some are past versions. Some are ancestral. Some are just tired echoes. And some are future seeds waiting for your voice to activate them. Your spoken word is the conductor of the unseen. The rituals of ancient initiates revolved around this awareness. They would speak spells, not as wishful hopes, but as precise alignments. Thoth's sacred texts weren't poetic musings. They were vibrational scripts encoded with frequencies to activate cosmic order. When they spoke, they activated fields. When you speak with presence, you do the same. Now imagine this. Each phrase you say spins out into space and begins to orbit you. It doesn't disappear. It lingers, feeding into the grid of possibilities around you. Say, "I'm not enough," often enough, and that phrase becomes gravity. It pulls situations to match it. It anchors emotions. It clouds vision. But say, "I am becoming," even once, with presence. And the orbit shifts. The gravity lightens. The blueprint redraws itself. This is not magic. This is mechanism. It is how consciousness interacts with reality. Your voice is not just sound, it is structure, and structure builds worlds. But here is the miracle. You can rewire your field in real time. Each moment is a doorway. Each sentence is a spell. Each word is a brushstroke painting your next hour. The only question is, are you painting unconsciously or are you designing with intention? The universe does not wait for your mood to stabilize. It responds to what you repeat. That's why consistency is more powerful than intensity. You don't have to shout affirmations, you only have to repeat coherence. The energetic blueprint is always forming. And now you remember, you are not just the one walking the path. You are the one speaking it into form. Practical exercise. The vibrational audit. For the next 3 days, conduct a sacred audit of your spoken field. Begin each day with stillness. Set an intention. Today I speak from presence. Then, carry a small notebook or keep a note in your phone. Each time you hear yourself say a habitual phrase, especially one that feels low, resigned, or limiting, pause. Write it down. No judgment, just awareness. At night, review your list. Ask for each. What does this phrase create in my field? What is its vibration? Is it aligned with the future I want to live? Now, alchemize each one. Rewrite the phrase in a way that feels just one step lighter. Not fake, but forward-moving. Speak the new version aloud, slowly, with breath, with intention. Example: I never get things right. I am learning to trust my rhythm. This always happens to me. I'm shifting this pattern with every choice. It's too late for me. Every moment holds power to begin again. These are not affirmations. These are frequency codes, and your voice is the key that turns them on. The more you do this, the more your speech becomes sacred again. The more your field begins to brighten, not from fantasy, from resonance, because now you are no longer repeating, you are rewriting, and the field is listening. Abracadabra, the spell. Hidden in plain sight, you've heard it 1,000 times. A magician waves a wand, a puff of smoke appears, and out it comes. Abracadabra. To most, it's a joke, a child's word, a sound with no real meaning. But hidden within it lies a sacred current, a spell not for illusion but for creation, a fragment of truth so ancient and powerful that it had to be disguised to survive. Because once upon a time, long before it became party entertainment, abracadabra was a code of divine power, a phrase whispered by mystics and initiates in hidden temples, vibrating with one of the purest declarations a human being can speak. I create as I speak. The word originates from ancient Aramaic, a language woven into the mystical threads of early spiritual texts. Abracadabra translates not to hocus pocus, but to a formula. I create as I speak. This was not symbolic, it was structural. To those who remembered the laws of vibration, this phrase was not decoration, it was instruction. A reminder that your voice is not just an expression of thought, it is a blueprint, a wand, a lever that shifts the invisible architecture of your reality. But how do you hide power in a world that wants to control it? You turn it into a punchline, you put it in the mouths of clowns, you wrap it in laughter until no one takes it seriously, and just like that, one of the most potent spiritual truths is erased from conscious memory. Not by destruction, but by distraction, and yet it never stopped working. The spell continued to cast itself through your voice, whether you believed in it or not. Because vibration doesn't require belief. It only requires expression. Every sentence you've ever spoken has rippled out into the morphic field around you, shaping the energy that returns to you in the form of events, emotions, and encounters. You don't speak about your life, you speak into it. You may not have realized it, but your everyday speech has been your spellbook. Every "I can't," "this never works," or "it's too late for me," has been a ritual, a subconscious incantation. Spoken over and over, these phrases gain weight. They sink into your field and begin to harden becoming the invisible scaffolding of your experiences. And the universe, in its neutrality, says, "As you wish." This is not poetic metaphor. It is vibrational mechanics. Words carry frequency. Frequency alters form. When you say something with emotional intensity, but especially over time, you begin to bend reality around that tone. You create not with effort, but with expression. And the more consistent that expression, the more inevitable its manifestation. Now, pause. Think of the last week. What have you declared out loud, even casually? "I always mess things up." "No one listens to me." "I'm just tired of trying." These phrases are not mere thoughts passing through air. They are instructions, coded into your energetic field, and unless interrupted, they will continue to echo, attracting more of the same. But the moment you remember abracadabra, truly remember it, you reclaim the wand. You step out of the loop of unconscious creation and return to the seat. Conscious direction. You realize that the voice in your chest is the most sacred technology you possess, and from that point on you begin to speak with reverence. The ancient scribes of Thoth understood this. They didn't speak the names of gods without preparation. They didn't utter sacred words unless their body, mind, and spirit were aligned. To them, speech wasn't casual, it was ceremonial. When they spoke, they were building bridges between the visible and invisible, summoning archetypes, sealing intentions into the architecture of the cosmos. And now so do you. Even the way abracadabra was written carried power. In old magical texts, it was inscribed in a descending triangle, each line removing a letter until only a dot remained, a geometric ritual showing the descent of intention into manifestation. From word to sound, from sound to shape, from shape to form, a visual prayer, a vibrational descent into matter. That's how precise they were. That's how sacred the word was. Today, you don't need papyrus or sacred ink. You need only presence. You need awareness of what your voice is doing to your world, because now the disguise has lifted. You know what abracadabra means. You know that every sentence you speak creates direction in the field, and that means you now carry the responsibility to use this knowledge with care. That doesn't mean policing your every word in fear. It means shifting from reaction to creation. From saying what's familiar to speaking what is true to your evolution. You no longer need to echo your past. You can begin to shape your future with language that reflects your soul's frequency, not your old programming. So speak as a creator, speak as a mystic, speak as a being who remembers the force of their own breath. Say, "I create as I speak." Say it out loud. Say it into your own heart, into your own timeline. Let the vibration ring out like a tuning fork, harmonizing you with the field you've forgotten you're designing every single day. Because this is how the spell was meant to be used. Not to entertain others, but to awaken yourself. Practical. Exercise the mirror ritual of sacred speech. Each morning, for the next 7 days, stand before a mirror. Let this be no ordinary reflection to Hem, but a sacred one, a reunion between the voice and the one who speaks. Place your right hand on your heart, your left on your throat. Take a deep breath, grounding yourself in silence. Then, looking into your own eyes, begin to speak. Slowly, intentionally, as if casting light into form. Start with this. I remember who I am. I create as I speak. My voice is sacred. My words are spells. Abracadabra. I am speaking my reality into being. After each sentence, pause. Let it settle into your field like rain into soil. Then speak one clear word that You want to embody that day, peace, courage, clarity, presence, and declare it, today I speak peace. Today I speak power. Today I speak truth. Do this with sincerity, not performance, not force, just presence. And over. The days, notice what begins to shift, how others respond, how you feel, how your energy aligns with the words you've chosen to speak. You are no longer cursing yourself with doubt. You are blessing yourself with clarity. You are no longer repeating spells of limitation. You are writing new ones from soul through
voice into form. Remember, abracadabra was never a joke. It was a key, a map, a code, and now you hold it again.
The Book of Thoth, a manuscript of manifestation. They called it the Book of Thoth, a manuscript said to hold the secrets of all creation. Not a metaphor, but an artifact, a sacred text inscribed by the God of wisdom himself, buried, protected, hidden across centuries, cloaked in riddles, guarded by serpents, locked in 7 boxes, one inside the other, not just because it was powerful, but because it was dangerous. According to legend, this book granted its reader access to unimaginable knowledge. To read it was to awaken powers that defied reason, the ability to understand the language of animals, to speak to the gods, to control the elements with voice alone. But those who sought it without reverence, they paid a price. Madness, ruin, a curse passed on for generations, not because the book was evil, but because the reader was unprepared. So the question whispers through the ages, was the Book of Thoth real? Was it ever held in physical hands, read by moonlight in the desert's edge, or inscribed onto scrolls buried beneath pyramids? Or was it always something else, a symbol, a cipher, pointing not to an object, but to an inner threshold? What if the book was never meant to be found out there, because it was written in you all along? Consider this. Every legend, every myth, every sacred text pointing toward divine power, hidden in an external source, has always contained a secret reversal. The Grail was never a cup. The temple was never just stone. The key was never forged in iron. The Book of Thoth may have never existed in the physical realm, not because it wasn't real, but because it was too real to be written in ink. It was encoded in vibration, in memory, in the bones and breath of those willing to become it. To access the Book of Thoth was not to read, it was to remember, to pierce the veil of personality and speak from a place before thought, a place of pure resonance, pure alignment, pure truth, and that is why so few ever truly accessed it. The ancient texts said the book could not be opened with hands, only with frequency. It required alignment, not intellect, stillness, not striving, and more than anything, it required purity of intent. Those who came to it seeking domination were destroyed. Those who sought it with reverence were transformed. This is the law of
sacred knowledge. It does not yield to the unready. It does not reveal itself to the scattered. It waits patiently inside you.
Beneath layers of doubt and noise and false identity, the pages remain sealed but humming, waiting to be opened with the correct vibration. And that vibration is you in coherence, not perfection, not sainthood, but presence, integrity, the merging of thought, feeling, and word. When your inner life becomes still enough, silent enough, honest enough, the first page opens. Not as a vision, but as a knowing. A transmission that doesn't come through language, but through resonance. Like a bell ringing inside your chest. No sound, just clarity. The Book of Thoth is not made of paper. It is energy. Its ink is your emotion. Its pages are your memory. Its symbols are the intuitive downloads that arrive in dreams, in synchronicities, in the sudden sense that you know something you've never been taught. That is the book opening, one glyph at a time. You don't read this book, you become it, and as you do, you begin to speak from a different place. You stop echoing societal scripts and begin uttering words that feel like they are older than you, yet rising from within. You stop speaking to be heard and start speaking as if your voice is writing reality. Because it is. This is why Thoth was not just a scribe. He was a threshold. To channel his wisdom meant to match his frequency. It meant that your consciousness had become refined enough to carry divine current, that your words were no longer noise, but blueprints, and so the real Book of Thoth was not buried in a tomb. It was buried in forgetfulness, in distraction, in doubt. The 7 boxes that sealed it were symbolic, representing the layers
of distortion that cover the soul: fear, shame, ego, attachment, anger, judgment, and impatience.
One by one, these layers must be peeled back, not through force, but through presence. Only then do you reach the innermost box. And inside it is not a book. It is a mirror that shows you not what you've become, but who you've always been. And in that moment, the book speaks, not in voice, but in vibration. It does not give you answers. It activates your own knowing. And from that point on, everything you speak, write, or feel begins to hold a strange, sacred weight. People may not know why your words land so deeply, but you will know. It's because they're coming from the book, from you. So now you understand the Book of Thoth is not something to find, it's something to unfold from within, page by page, revelation by revelation. And the key is not cleverness, it's sincerity, stillness, listening. And now you are ready to listen. Practical exercise. The inner book, visualization. This visualization is a sacred practice. It is not a fantasy. It is a frequency. Alignment. You are not imagining a book. You are aligning with the part of you that remembers it. Each night, for the next 7 nights, sit in silence before bed. Light a candle if possible. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And then, with full presence, follow these steps. Visualize yourself standing in an ancient library, not dusty, alive. Every wall hums with a quiet pulse. As if the books are breathing, before you a pedestal rises. Upon it, covered in golden light, rests a book you instinctively know is sacred. Reach toward it, not with your hand, but with your attention. As you do, ask inwardly, what truth am I ready to remember tonight? The book opens, not with pages, but with light. Let symbols rise, shapes, words, sensations. Don't try to translate them. Feel them. Let them settle into your chest like a forgotten language returning. Sit with this feeling. Let it imprint you. When you feel complete, bow and whisper, I remember. Upon waking, write down anything that lingers, no matter how abstract. Over time, these fragments will form patterns, and the patterns will become messages. This is how you read the Book of Thoth, not with your eyes, with your being. You don't learn the book, you become the book. And now, the first page is turning. And now, here you are. Not at the end, but at the edge. the edge of silence where creation listens, the edge of a sentence that has not yet been written. You have traveled far, not through distance, but through layers of belief, of distortion,
of forgotten power. And what you have discovered is not just knowledge, but remembrance. You are not a seeker anymore. You are a scribe, not of history, but of destiny. Like Thoth, you do not write with ink alone. You write with vibration.
with breath, with presence. Your life is a manuscript not printed on paper but etched into the subtle fabric of reality itself. Every word you speak is a glyph, every breath is a brushstroke, every moment of silence is a blank space filled with divine potential. You are not reciting someone else's story. You are authoring your own in real time with every thought. You choose every feeling you allow, every truth you dare to declare. And this is the final realization. Not that Thoth gave you power, but that he reminded you it was already yours. Not that he wrote creation for you, but that he left behind the mirror so you could see who had been holding the pen all along. You. The one who speaks with intention, the one who breathes with awareness, the one who no longer waits for life to happen, but happens to life. This is not metaphor, this is architecture. This is the truth of vibration made manifest. When your thoughts are clear, when your speech is sacred, when your energy is undivided, you don't just live in the world, you shape it. You are not a page in a book someone else wrote. You are the hand that turns the page. You are the soul that decides what the next chapter contains. So now the question is not what will happen to you. The question is, what will you write? Place your hand on your chest. Feel the rhythm, the silent beat of remembrance. Whisper softly, without performance. I am the scribe of my destiny. I choose what comes next. And in that moment, you are no longer the reader. You are the voice. You are the author. You are the spell, and so write. Not with fear, not with apology, but with reverence, with power, with soul. Write as if the universe is listening, because it is. Write as if creation responds to vibration, because it does. Write the first sentence of a new timeline. Speak the first word of a new world. Let it echo from your heart, through your throat, into the field, and then be still. Feel it land. This is not the end. This is the beginning. And the pen is in your hand.